Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Hello and welcome to another issue of Grow Your Business. I'm Suzanne Mercier and I'm here today to talk to you about the imposter syndrome and most specifically how to move beyond it. It's a subject that's now being talked about quite a lot more than it used to be, and you may be aware of high-profile people standing on the stage or telling their story about how they were successful and how they experienced the imposter syndrome along the way. The most recent person to do that is Mike Cannon-Brookes from Atlassian, who talks about how the imposter syndrome dogged every step of the development of Atlassian and of his leadership. So I look forward to sharing with you how to understand what's going on with the imposter syndrome and how to move beyond it. And the reason this is such an important subject to me is because I experienced it in my career. 20 years ago, I walked away from a high-paying, high-powered role for all the wrong reasons. I've had a very fortunate career. I was very lucky in that every time I wanted a job, I would go for the interview and I was able to very quickly understand what they were looking for and reframe my qualities, my capabilities, my experience so that it fitted what they were searching for. My challenge began when I started the job, and what I would do is I would kind of step back and look at what was going on around me, look at how people were acting and interacting, and what did it take to be successful in that environment. My most vivid memory of this was working with, when I was employed to work at George Patterson Advertising. And I had come from fast-moving consumer goods and had always wanted to get into advertising as the glamorous side of the business. So there I was in advertising, and I put my head down and worked like crazy for the first 12 months to figure out what did it take for me to be successful in this environment. At the end of 12 months, I wound up going to an agency event and spoke to one of the directors, and he said to me, "Suzanne, how are you going?" And I said, "I'm not sure." And he said, "No, you're right," which wasn't the answer that I was looking for or hoping for. So back to the drawing board, and I spent another 12 months trying to figure out what did it take to be successful. And the reason I was having such a challenge is that I was moving from fast-moving consumer goods marketing, where I needed to know everything about the product that I was putting on the shelves of the pharmacy at that stage, and I needed to work out what everything about that product. I needed to know it in depth. I needed to know all of the ingredients, how they interacted, the perfumes, the bottle, the shelf life, all of those kinds of things. And I had to move from that in-depth knowledge to the kind of knowledge that I needed to enable me to come up with the one thing to say about the product or service that would influence people's behavior and their thoughts around this particular product or service, and which could be put into a 30-second television commercial. So there I was, almost 24 months into my career in advertising, and I got a telephone call from the managing director's office. His executive assistant said to me, "Alex wants to see you now." And I stood there, I put the phone down, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to get fired today. So I had seen people walk out of advertising agencies before with two big burly security guards alongside them, and it's a pretty brutal process. The security guards would take you to your desk, they would watch you as you put everything into your box, and then they would frog march you off the property, and you had no chance to say goodbye to anybody. Everybody knew what was going on, and it seemed to me to be the ultimate in humiliation. And I thought this was what was ahead of me. So I wound up taking the stairs, the 2 flights that I needed to get up to Alex Hamill's office. And as I was walking up the stairs, I was kind of trying to stretch my mouth and take the tension out of my body. And all I could think was, "Suzanne, be dignified, don't cry." So I got into Alex's office, and he was on the phone with his back to me. So I sat on his chair, and I thought to myself, let me get a smile on my face. Let me handle this with grace. And he turned around and he said, "Suzanne." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Suzanne, congratulations." And I just looked at him. I was totally bemused. And I said, "Congratulations? What do you mean?" And he said, "We've just made you the first female director of George Pat's Advertising." And I looked at him and I said, "What?" Why? Because from my perspective, it was something that wasn't even on my radar. It was two levels above where I was, and I didn't think I was doing a very good job where I was. So he continued and he said, well, it's the contribution that you're making, but it's also the fact that we want you to make a significant contribution to the agency moving forward. And all I could think was, I've still got them fooled. They have no idea that I don't know what I'm doing. So I sat on the board for 2 years, and the tension of waiting for somebody to figure out that I didn't belong there got too great, so I left. I didn't realize at the time that I was taking the problem with me because the problem was me. Now, I look back and I see that I didn't do a particularly good job. I see that I wasn't a particularly good leader, but I didn't ask for help because if I had done that, then that would, to me, would suggest that I didn't deserve the job that I already had. There was no such thing at that stage as mentoring and coaching. So what I did was I interpreted my fear and my reluctance to hang around and wait for them to do to me what I thought I could best do for myself. I just thought, I've got to get out of here. So I left. And I've been working on my own now for the last 20 years in various guises. So the reason for me talking about the imposter syndrome now is that
to continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.